Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and distinguished leaders, a very, very good evening to all of you. Tonight we gather for a momentous occasion, the 13th edition of the Forbes India Leadership Awards, to pay homage to the very essence of true leadership. As the American author Warren Bennis had once profoundly remarked, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. These words resonate deeply as we embark on this journey tonight. For tonight is not just about acknowledging success, it's about celebrating the visionaries, the innovators, the resilient souls who turn dreams into reality. But before we delve into the wonderful events that await us, I would first like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed sponsors whose unwavering support has made this evening possible. Our associate partners, ACCO and Reliance, brew partner Philips, and workspace partner IndieCube. Now, in the dynamic landscape of India's economic ascent, entrepreneurship stands as a beacon of innovation and growth. As our nation strives for incredible economic progress, entrepreneurship emerges as a driving force propelling innovation and holistic growth. Today's leaders give more emphasis on purpose-driven vision over the mere pursuit of power and wealth. So as we gather here for the Forbes India Leadership Awards, we celebrate the visionary leaders who dared to dream, who forged ahead despite adversity, and inspired others to follow suit. Over the years, Forbes India Leadership Awards have advocated the need for establishing the spirit of entrepreneurship and resilient leadership. So tonight, we continue that legacy by shining the spotlight on leaders who have not just led, but have led with purpose, passion, and unwavering dedication. So for those unable to join us in person, we will use the power of technology to bridge that distance. The awards tonight will be streamed live on our website, ForbesIndia.com, and across all our social media platforms. So please follow us on @Forbes India across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and share your favorite moments of tonight using the hashtag FILA2024. So without further ado, let us commence this evening. It is my distinct honor to invite Forbes India's editor, Brian Carvalho, to address the esteemed leaders in this room and officially call the Forbes India Leadership Awards 2024 open.
Thank you, Sonia. Good evening, and a warm welcome to the Forbes India Leadership Awards, or FILA as we better know it. At the outset, I would like to say it's wonderful to see so many families and colleagues here to cheer today's winners. It truly makes this occasion a special one. FILA encapsulates all that Forbes India stands for: leadership, innovation, entrepreneurship, and wealth, creating it and giving it. It's on these four pillars that the Forbes India Leadership Awards are founded. Now in its 13th edition, FILA has, as always, the award categories that are at the core. We have Entrepreneur of the Year, CEO of the Year, and Gen Next Entrepreneur, to name three. Along the way, we have tweaked categories to make them more reflective of a rapidly changing environment. So in the past, if we had the unique unicorn category, this year we moved ahead to consider value creation and not just valuation. That's why this year we have the Startup Value Creator Award. The Leadership Awards also take cognizance of an evolving business, economic, and technological landscape. Over the recent past, we've added awards like Regional Goliath to capture the rapidly burgeoning local brands. We also brought in Emerging Climate Warrior and Emerging Innovator to highlight tech-enabled developments that can improve lives and livelihoods. I thought I'd use this opportunity to talk about two new awards that we introduced this year, and which, if I may say so, place FILA in a unique space. The first is Institution Builder. The economic reforms of the early 90s threw up a host of opportunities for entrepreneurs willing to take measured risk as long as there were returns for the taking. Many of these early adventurers have gone on to build enterprises in diverse sectors, from information technology services and manufacturing to banking and financial services. A few of these enterprises are veritable institutions that were incubated decades ago by a few good men and women. The institution builder winner is an individual who saw opportunity when few did pre-1991. The onset of economic reforms threw up a whole host of prospects over the subsequent years and decades. These opportunities provided fuel for the individual to implement his vision. And the vision for this man who saw tomorrow was to build a robust institution across the entire financial services spectrum. You will soon know, if you don't already, who will take home the Institution Builder Award for his spirit of enterprise and for his vision. The other distinctive award category we have is Ecosystem Enabler. The ecosystem here is deep tech, one that often gets lost in the hype and hoopla of unicorns and soonicorns. The winner in this category is a 70-year-old Padma Shri awardee, an IIT Kanpur graduate with a PhD from America's University of Maine, which is known for its path-breaking research. He is a pioneer in nurturing industry-academia interaction in research, innovation, and product development, and has accumulated accolades in areas that mirror the evolution of Indian technology, from wireless telephony and mobile banking to solar equipment and battery swapping for electric vehicles. His most enduring legacy is the IITM Research Park, where he continues to scout for the next big deep tech startup. I think I've said enough to keep you guessing, and enough to set the stage for what we have in store this evening. 12 awards and a lot of cerebral chatter and glitter in between them. Before I end, my sincere thanks and gratitude to our 9-member jury chaired by Mr. Harsh Mariwala. Without those intense debates and discussions, we wouldn't have had such a stellar lineup of winners. A sincere thanks to all of you who have taken the time to be here. Sit back and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Well, a strong economy's backbone is a stronger finance and banking sector. Today, we are privileged to have a distinguished leader amongst us who has shaped its evolution. With a vision for the future, he has successfully built an institution in an extremely challenging and competitive global and domestic banking environment that will definitely take his legacy forward. Having laid the foundation of the Kotak Mahindra Bank in 1985, he has not just built this business from scratch, but has also diversified it to evolve with the time. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me, put your hands together in welcoming Uday Kotak, the founder and director of Kotak Mahindra Bank, to deliver the keynote address of the FILA 2024.
Good evening, friends. It's always a tough job to be speaking before Coffee with Karan. And talking about finance when all of us are looking for films and entertainment. So I will try my bit to entertain you in the world of finance, which is a very different feel from the world of entertainment. Having said that, like all of us, I love movies, particularly Indian movies, and I'm looking forward to Karan's session and his wonderful talk this evening. So between you and Karan, I'll just put in a few words on a subject which is future of finance. I will relate this more to the Indian situation, about India's transformation, which we are seeing in front of us. For someone like me who started a business about 38, 39 years ago, seeing India of today excites me even more than what my excitement was 38, 39 years ago. And in many ways, the next 20 to 25 years will be the defining moments of India's success. And if India has to make that leap in the real world, in the economic world, on the global stage in geopolitics, the starting point of that has to be India's ability to become one of the largest economies in the world. And over the next 20 to 25 years, what does it take for us to be amongst the top 2 economies in the world? I know we're going to be moving to the 3rd place, hopefully in the next 5 years. But from the 3rd place to the 2nd place, friends, is a little more hard work than what most of us at this stage can imagine. And I can see a lot of youngsters, including the young Parth. You will have to fight a lot of these battles as we go into the future. And of course, the manufacturing companies with Dixon and others taking the lead to make India's transformation on the global stage. But for all this, friends, there is this simple principle that paisa chahiye. Money will be required for spurring India's ability to make this dream of becoming the top 2 economies in the world over the next 25 years. And I'll talk a little bit about how I see this transformation in the context of our future. When I started my career, friends, 97% of the Indian financial sector was public sector banking. And the concept of wide capital markets did not exist. We had a relatively closed economy, and here it was I plunged into the area of finance. One of the most important aspects of finance, friends, is essentially there are 2 business models. One, which is known as the saver-borrower model, which means you save money, you put money in a bank deposit, the bank lends money. That is known as the saver-borrower model. And the other one, friends, is known as the investor-issuer model. So the same saver becomes an investor, and the borrower effectively becomes the issuer. But these 2 business models in finance are very different models. I remember a time in the 80s when investor-issuer model was looked down upon. You talk to anybody, share bazaar mein paise dal rahe ho, satta ka den hai. That was the normal view about people investing in the stock market, which is the big heart of the investor-issuer model. I still remember in the early 90s, when Indian companies wanted to raise money, Indian market could not give it, and we had to go to FII. And how do you go there? You have to do a GDR issue in an unknown exchange called the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, because Indian markets, you could not raise money from foreign portfolio investors. Effectively, at that stage, it was only the saver-borrower model, and India was exporting its capital markets overseas. From that day to today, friends, we have made enormous progress on the investor-issuer model. Today, Indian stock market has now become one of the largest stock markets in the world with the amount of transactions. And the Indian saver, number of people who put systemic investment plans every month, the amount of interest of the Indian retail from a small town in UP to a small town in Guwahati, all have begun to invest in the Indian capital markets. So we now see the development of both the models, the saver-borrower and the investor-issuer. As we go into the future, friends, both these models will have to coexist. But both the models are very different from each other as we think about the future of finance. The investor-issuer model is a much lower cost of intermediation compared to the saver-borrower model. And therefore, at the top end of corporate India, a very significant part of top end of corporate India will move to the investor-issuer model. And the larger mid-market companies, the SMEs and the retail, will be with the banks and the non-banks. So as we see this develop, we need to be able to address both sides of the coin. The same saver who becomes the investor, and we, as people who see the future of finance, to be able to live in both the worlds. And financial institutions will have to reimagine themselves to be able to coexist in both the worlds. And frankly, in the area of capital markets or the investor model, the only country in the world which has been successful in that model is the United States of America. No other country across the world has really made the investor-issuer model work. European markets still are more traditional, dependent on the bank model. So too for most of Asia, including China. But the power of the investor model or the capital markets model, which US has developed, is what I think is where India should aspire for. Because if we want to really take on the world and be the top 2 economy, we will have to build deep capital markets in addition to traditional banking. Other major change, friends, is in the field of finance, the whole area of customer experience. The customer of today is used to a completely different customer experience. He or she is using an Apple phone or dealing on an Amazon platform. So the banks of the past who have not been able to make the change to a similar customer experience will lose out to consumer tech over time. And therefore, extremely critical for the future of finance that the customer or the consumer begins to have a similar experience in the financial world to the kind of experience she has on Google, Amazon, Apple. And banks of today are trying to make that transition to similar customer experience as what you get in the consumer world. And finance will become significantly more consumerized. And banks and institutions which can make that transition to that customer experience will sustain in the future. I'm very often asked, is the future of finance technology? And my view on that is the future of finance is risk management powered by technology. The heart of finance is about risk management, but it has to be powered by technology, development of AI, development of a whole new world where risk management is supported by technology. And you are seeing that battle happen as I speak. You're reading about many, many fintechs and technology companies going through tough times today. The reason for that is technology companies are very good at technology, but it's extremely important they be very, very cutting edge on managing risks and returns. And the traditional Indian financial players who are good in the domain of risk and returns normally fail in technology. Therefore, the world is moving to world-class financial institutions as those which can combine the power of the domain, that is power of knowledge of finance and risk management, with world-class technology, delivering superior customer experience while managing risk and making the whole transition seamless. And that brings me to the important point of where is it all going? And the power of AI, artificial intelligence. Friends, recently one of the most successful companies in the world in recent times called NVIDIA. The CEO of NVIDIA had this to say about the future of technology versus domain. He said that technology and engineers effectively will be commoditized. And packages of technology and AI will transform the way the future of business will be. And AI will encapsulate and give you the solutions which will have deep embedded technology in them, but users and domain users will just have to have strong domain usage, ability to understand customers, and plug in AI from these world-class companies. So historically, it used to be domain which dominated the finance sector. In recent times, the role of technology was important. Most of us believed that the banks needed to add a lot more engineers, which is correct, to build world-class technology. But you're moving to the next game, which is AI, where domain will dominate technology, which will become a supporting function. But we are far away from that in Indian banking and finance. So we are still playing the second game, which is getting the technology platform in place before we play the game of AI. And friends, the game of AI is crazy. In most fields, the machine is superior than the human being. For any of us who has seen the game of chess, the computer beats any human being today. No human being can beat a computer in chess. And field after field, humans will have created this animal called AI. And that animal, in due course, will have more knowledge, more insight, and more power than us. We as humans will have to start learning the next game for our future. And with this background, I wanted to end with a little bit of my dream on the future of finance. As I said, I really wish to see India amongst the top 2 countries in the world and becoming a significant powerhouse. You go back to the United States of America, and there are 3 things which make US the most successful. First, military power. Nobody dare take on the US by sheer military power which the US has. Second, the US dollar as the reserve currency. You have nowhere else to go but have your Nostro account settled in New York. And ask any banker. The nightmare is making sure your Nostro account in US dollars is always protected. And this power of the reserve currency enables United States to print money and finance whatever it wants. The power of the reserve currency is probably as important or even more important than the military power. And the third, which we have to salute the US, is at every point of time, they have had this sense of creativity, of freedom, ability to do whatever you want, bordering on recklessness, but creates enterprise. The Magnificent Seven in the US is a great example that even in today's world, US dominates because of its creativity. And if India has to succeed, we need all these 3. We need to do a lot more on defense and military, and we have to aspire for becoming a potential reserve currency. But to get to the reserve currency, we will need to first have a significant amount of discipline, institutions which are truly world-class. And if we can reach that reserve currency in the next 10 years, friends, our dream of becoming the top 2 economy in the world is very achievable over the next 20 to 25 years. Therefore, the future of finance from an Indian point of view is when you and I go anywhere in the world with the Indian rupee. Whether it's China, whether it's Russia, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Africa, whether it's the United States, and the Indian rupee as a currency is accepted by one and all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my dream of future of finance for an Indian. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Kotak, I request you to stay back on stage, please. Thank you. Thank you for that enlightening address, by the way. I would request you to continue staying back on stage. And with us, we request Mr. Harsh Mariwala, the founder and chairman of Marico, and the FILA jury chair to join us on stage to give away the Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Institutional Builder to Mr. Kotak. A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations once again. Ladies and and gentlemen, once again, give a huge round of applause to Mr. Uday Kotak. All right, congratulations, Mr. Kotak, on this well-deserved recognition, and a heartfelt thank you, Mr. Mariwala, for joining us to celebrate this momentous occasion. Well, moving on, it's time now for a chat, but not just any chat. Over the decades, the world and the art of filmmaking have undergone profound changes. Whether it is story writing, music, cinematography, VFX, in the recent past, OTT platforms have opened an entire new avenue for filmmaking and storytelling. It is time now to shift our gears from banking to the world of cinema. To take this discussion ahead, I'd like to welcome on stage Palki Sharma, Managing Editor of First Post. All right, our next guest is no stranger to this world of cinema, or in fact to any of us. He needs no introduction at all, but let's extend a warm welcome to the true titan of Indian cinema. From Kuch Kuch Hota Hai to Rocky Irani Ki Prem Kahani, he redefined love and its storytelling for us, and now he's rewriting the definition of OTT and reality TV by producing content like Coffee with Karan and The Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives. His contribution has shaped the narrative of contemporary Indian cinema. Please put your hands together and welcome Karan Johar.
Good evening, everyone. The session is called The New Order of Cinema. Good to have you here, Karan Johar. I want to start by asking, what does cinema mean to you?
Sorry, what does?
Cinema mean to you?
Cinema. That's a broad question to ask a filmmaker. Cinema is, it means everything actually to me. It's my identity. It's what raised me. It's what made me dream and eventually fulfilled so many of those dreams. The very first film I ever saw in a cinema hall was a film called Roman Holiday. My mother took me to an early morning screening at the Eros Cinema at Churchgate. And I remember being mesmerized by celluloid, moving images, and the beauty and romance of that film. And I just fell in love with the whole community experience of watching a film. From then on, it just went on from one moment in cinema to the other when I discovered Indian cinema and Hindi cinema. And that's where the beginning of my dreams began. So cinema pretty much is the fructification of so many of my childhood dreams and memories.
Fantastic. But then I have to ask the question, when you make movies, do you see yourself as a businessman or an artist? And can you wear both the hats? And is there a clash of the heart and the mind sometimes? And do you think to yourself that this film has to be made, it may or may not work?
I mean, because I was a producer's son, I was, my father, Mr. Yash Johar, was a producer in a very different environment where I don't think a producer was given the kind of regard and respect that they are today. Today they're studio heads and, you know, heads of studios and production houses, and like they're given a whole different regard. In those days, producer was the lowest hanging fruit. Like one has heard of dramatic stories of houses being sold, jewelry being sold when a film has failed at the box office. There were individual financiers and there were high costs of interest. And so I have seen while I've seen art unfold in front of my eyes, I've also seen the other side of things, you know, where I've seen like the turbulent times commercially that my father had been through and the industry was going through. So I have an understanding of both, and I believe that my own tastes, or rather my own preferences, have always kind of blended the two of them. It's been a kind of a blend of commerce and art. I think, you know, I always think like that. Being commercial or being mainstream is pretty much a part of my DNA as a filmmaker. It's not something I have to cultivate or inculcate. It's within my ecosystem as a filmmaker. So when I design a film, by default, by design, or by desire, they tend to be mainstream in texture. So there comes the commerce part of it. And as an artist, you always express yourself through the stories you tell, through the dialogues, through the narrative, through the communication or essence of the film. So I believe I've been able to balance it as a director. But as a studio head, as a producer, my eyes on the box office ball, always. That's how I believe a producer should be if you're in the business, because we have responsibilities. We have partners. We have a digital partner. We have a satellite partner. We have a music partner. So you've got to deliver the goods if you're asking for top dollar from the market.
It seems you found the magic formula. Are there boxes that you have to tick and say, okay, if this is the script that has come to me, it is definitely going to work if it fulfills these many criteria?
Look, I don't know any filmmaker who can ever say that this particular film is going to be an assured blockbuster. We never know. The thing about cinema and the thing about storytelling is you don't know how deeply resonant your idea will be with a wider audience. You can just do your best and put in all the elements that perhaps you know of or your creativity goes towards. But eventually, when a film is a massive breakthrough at the box office or is a massive failure, both of them sometimes to a filmmaker is a big surprise. It comes sometimes as a shock when the film fails, but also as a very happy surprise when it goes beyond your expectation. Because I believe the audiences act in extremes. You can never really assess, and we say consumer is king, but it's very true with a film, because I believe an audience is empowered to know much before a filmmaker if the film or content excites them or not.
So it's like a lottery.
Well, lottery would still be putting a gamble to it, because there's so much more to creating stories and creating art than just gambling. But it is kind of a creative gamble, yes.
You've made some great films, commercial successes. Audiences the world over have loved them. You've made films like My Name is Khan, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. Some of these themes were perhaps ahead of their times. Would you be able to make a movie like that today? And how do you think it would be received? And would you make any changes to it?
Well, I believe you can tell any story you want if you have the courage of your conviction. When I directed My Name is Khan, it was at that point of time where I believed very strongly in talking about the misinterpretation of a religion worldwide at that time. This was post 9/11, and I felt very strongly about telling that story. When I told Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, it was about emotional turbulence in many households across the world. Infidelity is a reality, and monogamy is a rarity. But many people told me, how could you endorse infidelity at that time? Well, I said, how can you endorse something that's already sold out? It's out there for the world to see and witness. But many people were very, I would say, polarized in terms of their reactions, because there were many who addressed them as home truths and acknowledged them as realities of life, and many others who didn't want to watch the reality of life. They didn't want to see their biggest movie stars showing shades of gray. They wanted to see the model husband, the model son, the model parent. But Kabhi Alvida talks about people who live in the gray. And that's not a shade an audience takes to very easily. It takes a whole lot of evolution for them to understand those shades of gray in humanity. But as a filmmaker, as a content creator, as a storyteller, you want to tell all kinds of stories and dabble in all kinds of themes. And to go back to your question, given a moment in time where I believe in something strongly, I will be able to tell that story. And I'm sure if it comes through with conviction, an audience will definitely look into it at some point of time. Maybe not at the time it releases, but somewhere down the line, it will find acceptance.
I think that's very, very important for any artist in any field to find that conviction and to
Yes.
go with it. Since you're talking about the audience being divided and the audience having to evolve sometimes, a recent example that comes to mind is Animal. It was very successful, also very controversial. The movie was violent. How do you think such movies then impact society?
Look, there's been a lot of debate on Animal. There have been people who have expressed their opinions, and there are people who have stood up against, for it, I know the filmmaker himself has been very vocal about his feelings. I personally, I'm going to say very truly, honestly, I saw it as a character film, a film based about a character who was deeply dysfunctional, who was inherently violent, who had many emotional issues, and I really loved the treatment of the film. I loved the way the director told that story. I didn't go deep into the moral communication of the film. I was so swept by the narrative and the way the filmmaker told the story with sound, design, screenplay, dialogue, character development, that as a filmmaker, I loved it. And I know I've been in deep debates, about the film with people, but that was my opinion as an audience, as a filmmaker. And I believe that a film that can shake up the ecosystem of emotion where it releases is obviously impactful, because so many people have so many opinions about the film. And I was just one of those people who loved it as a filmmaker. And there are people who've called me and expressed their opinions to me and, disagreed with me or agreed with me. But I have to be honest about my emotion attached to a film I've seen. And if it comes with criticism or flack, then I'll have to accept it with open arms. And if it comes with some sort of an embrace, I have to accept that as well.
I think that's the thing with art. It evokes strong emotions. Cinema more so because it reaches so many more people. And given the reach that you have, do you think that there is, at some level, a moral obligation on a director or an actor that the film should somewhere strike a balance or set out the right message? Or is it not so black and white?
It's not as black and white as that. What is communication to me through the medium of cinema may not be something that you endorse or agree with, but what I'm trying to say might be my belief, and I'll do it in my way. Of course, when I was writing Rocky or Rani Ki Prem Kahaniyan, I knew that there was so much I wanted to say, because I was addressing patriarchy, I was addressing entitlement, I was addressing like divides in terms of love, or freedom of an artist, where a man can perform to a classical dance form and not be scoffed at. I addressed that because that was the story I wanted to tell. And I do believe that you call it moral obligation. I talk about spreading love through your work and just spreading goodness. And that's what I wanted to do through that film. I didn't think that I sat on a chair as any kind of moral police. I just wanted to spread a good emotion, a feeling of love and unity through that film. And that's what I hope to do. But every filmmaker, he or her has their own perspective, and it's their prerogative to have their own perspective. I can't speak for anyone else. I can speak for myself.
No, I asked because back in the day there were films with heroes chasing a heroine and her saying no and the man still persisting, and over the years we've realized that may not have been the best message. So I think we also evolve in our thinking as how we process it as a society, which is why I asked that for someone who's been making movies for so long, do you think that...
Honestly, when we grew up in the lap of Hindi cinema and Indian cinema, a lot of the communication was unknown to many of us. What we consider was romance, later on we realize it's talking, and it can have, deeply, it can have deep repercussions. But none of this was when I was growing up. We didn't realize a lot of it. It's on the job you realize your responsibility. It's for you individually to kind of feel responsible to an audience. It's yours, I said, it's your prerogative. I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that I wouldn't represent an item song the way I have in my films maybe 10 or 12 years ago, because I know it would amount to objectification. I know that having a man relentlessly chase a woman without her consent is not romance, it is stalking. I know that today, but I've learned on the job, and I don't want to be cancelled for it now, but I did learn on the job, and I admit to not knowing a lot then and being much more emotionally aware today.
I appreciate how candid you've been with this. Let's talk about OTT, because we're talking about the new order of cinema. How do you think OTT has changed cinema? Has it democratized it? Has it given filmmakers more avenues to experiment, and the viewer and the audience also to evolve in their tastes?
There's been this whole debate about has OTT platforms, have they caused a dent in theatrical audiences? And suddenly we saw the resurgence of the box office in 2023, and everyone said, oh, has OTT slowed down now and is cinema back? nothing has changed. Both complement each other. It just means OTT has given birth to what I believe is the most powerful resource of storytelling, is the storyteller, the writer. OTT has empowered writers, and that to me is so gratifying to know that today writers stand empowered, because OTT is predominantly a writer's medium. And because we have writers being empowered, there are more of them writing more and more content, and such superior content, that I think films are benefiting as a result of that. Also actors. There are such fine actors in our country, and now they've found platforms to have lead roles, which sometimes they have to succumb to the star system and are unable to find their space in the spotlight. But now all of them are doing incredible work, and we have access to those actors, those writers, those storytellers. So the OTT platforms have expanded the horizon of entertainment to an altogether different level. And I think cinema is benefiting from this growth. And OTT also, when you have licensed films on OTT platforms, those platforms are also exponentially enhanced. So one is helping the other. They're working like siblings. They're not at war, but they're very much complementing each other's strengths and offsetting their weaknesses.
Are there any particular genres that necessarily work better on the big screen and not OTT? If you were to make, or whenever you make your next movie, how are you going to decide where it should release?
So the thing with watching the middling content in terms of the dramedy, the romance comedy, the human drama, the ones that are told in engulfed spaces and spaces that are not able to be told in a cinematic way, those stories are now much more tilted towards the OTT platforms, because now people are going to watch big theatrical experiences in the cinema halls. They want to watch tentpole films, big event films, cinema experiences. So I think we have to understand that there will be the 12th fail that will come and suddenly shake that up. There will be films like that, but they may be few and far between. Predominantly, I think the big screen will be for big screen, big cinema experiences, and OTT platforms will talk about genres such as I mentioned earlier. We'll have to understand that very carefully when we forge forward.
Let's talk about the N word, nepotism. I know you fielded a lot of questions on that, and the fact is that nepotism has existed for centuries and across industries, but for some reason Bollywood gets a lot of flack for it. Do you think that Bollywood is unfairly targeted? Do you think that you guys are soft targets when it comes to politics or public opinion? It's easy to take pot shots at film stars and filmmakers.
Look, I think the movie industry and Bollywood, if you may call it, has always been a soft target, because everyone's out there for everyone to see and judge on a daily basis. Bollywood is in your face, morning, noon, and night. So anything attached to Bollywood always becomes a soft target. Nepotism exists in our ecosystem, in our traditional system, in our business domain, in every field and walk of life. Of course, it is an exaggerated phenomena where it comes to our movies. And I do believe that there is some truth to the entitlement and privilege that nepotism comes with. You have a first mover advantage that millions of others don't have. And that is true. I would not be able to direct a film at age 24 if my father was not a producer. The fact that he was a struggling producer and having a tough time was a separate issue altogether, but he was still in the business, and I got that first move advantage. But had that film failed, I would not get another chance, and that's true to any actor, artist, director, filmmaker. And I think that when you look at a film set, if you just go by sheer data, on a film set, if there are 500 people, I can assure you 490 of those 500 people are not from the business at all. They have nothing to do with the business. 10 people are, and then you make such a hue and cry about then. What about the other 490 people? Similarly, in my office, if you walk in, we are about 600 to 800 people working at one point of time on multiple projects. 95% of those people are not from the movie industry. Not technicians, actors, technical teams, all forms of artists are not. But that tiny percentage is targeted and made into this big, big deal about. And I'm like, you know, what about the other kind of actors and directors who are not from the business and doing such incredible work? Why aren't you giving them the importance they truly deserve?
fair point. You also talked about mental health in your last season of Coffee with Karan. It's a topic that most people shy away from, do not acknowledge. What made you come out and speak about it?
I felt it was important because I felt that we realized that people who come, who live in the public domain or public figures, and especially the ones in the entertainment business, have a certain kind of lifestyle, emotionality. But just like anyone else, like everyone, like you go through mental health issues, and I know I went through them myself. I had a deep, I still am. I'm on medication as I speak for anxiety, and I consult a psychologist, and it is a result of whatever the story may be, but it is true that you're going through something that you don't know how to combat. And it's important to tell the world around you that if you can treat yourself for diabetes, for blood pressure, then you can treat yourself for mental health, because it's also something that sometimes may require addressing, either through therapy or through a psychologist, through medication, or maybe other avenues that you can dabble in. But it is the truth of life, whether it's depression or anxiety or all strains of mental health. They need to be addressed because we live in troubled times emotionally as well as we do professionally and personally. And sometimes you have to take care of yourself. Your mind and brain needs as much love from you yourself and your loved ones as do other organs in your body. And we tend to put a taboo attached to it. And I think that it's very essential that we wake up to the fact that it is a reality of our life, and addressing it would be the first step towards overall wellness and well-being of humanity in general.
I think it's very important that people with your reach and your celebrity status come out and say this. I think this deserves a round of applause. I think it's very important. Your movies share a common theme about friendship, love, relationships. Have you considered exploring new genres like maybe a spy thriller?
We are making many. They're all being made or are going to release soon. We have lots of action-packed movies, not essentially spy thrillers, but like we're dabbling in different forms of, we have a high-octave action film that is based on a moving train that we premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. It's just a film much like Train to Busan, which is the whole action is on a vertical format in a moving train, shot by a Korean team for us, with a new lead who's an outsider, and a director who's again an outsider, who's told that story. It's called Kill, and it's one of the very many in the series we plan to make. So we're doing high, and we have a film releasing this Friday called Yodha, which is action on a plane. So we're covering all modes of communication with action, and we're trying to kind of do it in as interesting a way as possible. We're trying to do high concept action films at Dharma, and that's our big endeavor of the moment.
Do you think we will, in the Hindi or Indian film industry, see more franchise film trends like a universe?
We're already seeing it. We're already seeing what's happened with the Yash Raj Spy Universe. Is a phenomenal success. And we're seeing it with the films made in the South that are creating universes. There are filmmakers like Lokesh Kangaraj who are doing it so exquisitely. We're seeing the whole phenomena of sequels and universes being created as we speak. And we're doing it our way, which is what is making it even more exciting and exhilarating.
Dharma is also known to platform not just new actors, but also directors and writers. When you pick someone for a project, what is it that you look for in fresh talent? And how much of it is dictated by your relationship or friendship to those people?
No, I mean, when I choose a filmmaker, it's always based on my instinct. I believe instinct is a superpower that all of us have. Sometimes we over-intellectualize it. We put other layers on top of it. But actually, hidden in all of us is a superpower called instinct. And when anyone walks in and tells me a story, in that moment, in the very first 5 minutes, I know if I'm sold or not. And I just know that this person will make a film for me or not. It's just something I rely on all the time, is my first instinct.
In Hindi cinema, especially in the last century, I think every decade we saw a superstar. You know, who's the superstar of today according to you? Say the Amitabh Bachchan or the Rajesh Khanna of today. And I ask because on this very platform, Ranveer Singh previously said that he doesn't think that this generation of actors will see the sort of fandom that, for instance, the Khans did. So is the era of superstars over then?
The superstar is the movie today. It's not the actor, it's not the movie star, it's the movie. And beyond the movie now it's the audience. We have to know that the era of superstars, when Mr. Bachchan and Mr. Dilip Kumar, doyens like them, Mr. Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir, Akshay and Ajay and Hrithik, they all came at a time where they were not exposed to so much that actors of today are, with the kind of access that everyone has to movie stars because of social media. There is a drop in intrigue. There is less mystery and mystique attached to that stardom. Those days, people had no access. When a movie star came somewhere and appeared out of nowhere, it was like throngs of people just waiting to see their favorite movie star. Today, you see them coming out of gyms. You see them coming out of parties, restaurants, everywhere. They're all around us. You swipe and you just see them. You know, you're zooming into them. You're watching every beat of their life unfold in front of your eyes. How can there be mega superstardom with that kind of access? It's not possible. So it just leaves us to believe that the movie is now the superstar.
Fantastic. I know I've taken more time than I was allotted, but how can I have a conversation with Karan Johar and not have a rapid fire round?
Oh
so
dear.
let me quickly take some questions with you. Which is the better film, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or My Name is Khan?
My name is Khan.
OTT or big screen, your go-to medium to watch movies?
Big screen, forever. It's where my life began.
Audience is the king, yes or no?
Yes.
Commercial success or critical laurels, which one do you prefer?
Commercial success.
Honest. Cinema in Bollywood, I've already asked you, is a lottery, yes or no?
Sorry?
Cinema in Bollywood is a lottery, yes or no?
Cinema in Bollywood is?
It's like a lottery.
Is
We
lottery.
discussed that.
Maybe.
Directors who say commercial success does not matter are, fill in the blanks.
Lying.
A Karan Johar movie is incomplete without, fill in the blanks.
A song, a dance, and a chiffon sari.
One movie that you keep going back to.
As inspiration, for me, Kagaz Ke Phool.
Biden or Trump?
Well, it's like Devil in the Deep Blue Sea, and we're all going to watch that drama unfold very soon. No matter what I choose, darling, America's going to vote who they want to, and they'll have to suffer those consequences.
Your go-to magazine, Forbes India or Forbes India?
Well, when in India, do what the Indians do. Forbes India all the way.
Thank you, Karan Johar. Pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Karan. I request you to wait back on stage. And that was truly the perfect conversation on leadership, lessons, and the changing dynamics of the world of cinema. And thank you for openly talking about your mental health and the struggles that you go through, because we all know that this is a topic that needs to move out of being a stigma, right? But I would now like to request Vivek Srivatsa, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at Tata Passenger Electric Mobility, and Amit Kamath, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles, to join us on stage to give away the Icon of Excellence Award to Karan Johar. Please give him a big, big round of applause. Congratulations, Karan. And can we hand over a mic to him? Just a few words, please.
I didn't realize I had to give an acceptance speech. Sorry about that. This is wonderful. It's such an honor coming from Forbes, which is such an illustrious platform, to receive an award, an honor from. And it says Icon of Excellence. I think that all a creative artist can do is constantly strive for excellence. I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. This is very humbling. Thank you very much.
So, you know, Karan, Yes, one more big round of applause. But I have one more question for you. There are so many lessons that people learn from success, but I think the most amount of lessons that you learn is from failure, right? What has your biggest lesson been that you've learned from any failure that you've been through in the past?
You know, I strongly believe as an entrepreneur or as an artist, it's important to kind of not give, to kind of, if you can, achieve the state of being where you can treat success and failure in the same way. If you don't celebrate your success too much or lament your failure too much, you're in a really strong place in life. I believe I meet, when anything is successful, I meet that with relief and I move on. And when anything fails, I learn and I move on. But it's important, extremely important to move on from both.
Well, detachment, right?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. And once again, congratulations on the award. All right. Without further ado, let's dive into the next category of awards. I would first like to invite the institution professor and president IIT M Research Park, Padma Shri Ashok Jhunjhunwala, on stage to present this set of awards. Our next category, ladies and gentlemen, seeks to celebrate the endeavors of a visionary entrepreneur who has set the benchmark for sustained superior performance and transformational leadership through their business. It is time now to award the Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Entrepreneur of the Year. The winner this year is the founder of India's largest electronics manufacturing services company, and despite the enviable milestone, he's not done just yet. He now wants to transform his company, Dixon Technologies, into a global engineering powerhouse. Ladies and gentlemen, the Entrepreneur of the Year award goes to Sunil Vachani, the Executive Chairman of Dixon Technologies. Congratulations, Sunil. We may request you to say a few words.
Firstly, I want to thank the jury members and Forbes for this very prestigious award and for this great recognition. I think this award definitely belongs to the 27,000 strong family members of Dixon. It's their hard work, it's their commitment, it's their passion, and I'm just really honored to receive the award on their behalf. As I was walking up today, my mind went back, to how far really we've traveled as a country, as an industry, and even as a company. I recall a time when I think we were importing almost 100% of the products that we sold in the country, like mobile phones, televisions, and many other products. And today, I think it's happened for the first time that almost all the mobile phones that are sold in the country are produced in the country. Not only that, we as an industry are exporting products worth almost $25 billion. As a category, we are, I think, the 5th largest in terms of exports. So I think really we've come very, very far. And I think since I'm in Mumbai and then Karan was also there, I remember a dialogue of a famous movie of Shah Rukh Khan. He said, "Dosto, abhi picture bahut baki hai." So I think a lot more has to come. A lot more is going to happen. As an industry, we need to focus on design-led manufacturing. We need to create a strong component ecosystem. And finally, I think we need to build a large scale. So thank you so much for this recognition once again. And thank you my family for being here today and for all the unconditional love. And thank you my Dixon family members for always being there for me. Thank you so much.
Congratulations once again, and kudos to your energy and to your enthusiasm. And as you said, picture abhi baki hai. Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. The Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Well, the next category recognizes leaders who have spearheaded innovation. Now, with an encouraging recommendation letter from the late Honorable President APJ Abdul Kalam, Bellatrix Aerospace started from building an engine that would run on water as a propellant. Today, under this duo, it's on its way to reimagining in-space mobility with satellites as a service. Ladies and gentlemen, the Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Emerging Innovator goes to Bellatrix Aerospace. May I welcome on stage Rohan Ganpati, the CEO, and Yashas Karanam, the COO, to come on stage. A big round of applause to them. Congratulations. Congratulations. Of course, a few words from your end. And also, what do you see as the future of aerospace over the next many years?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for the award. And coming to our specific venture, Bellatrix Aerospace and space tech in India as such, right? We believe space tech is becoming the next big frontier where India is going to be a flag bearer to the world. A lot of Indian startups like us are coming with innovative technologies, and we are building things which are competing with those in the US and Europe. And things really are getting interesting with the fact that the government is really pushing us, propelling us, opening up a lot of policies for us. And I believe space can become one big employer for India and also be part of India's like the $5 trillion economy plan, because there is a huge scope for exports for India in the space sector. And I also believe over a period of time, space would become one of largest employers for like high-tech jobs in the country. Thanks.
Congratulations. Once again, a big round of applause to him. We hope you continue to achieve newer heights. Okay, now it's time for us to shine the spotlight on resilience. This category honors the company that has weathered all kinds of adversity and showcased exceptional fiscal growth by turning around its strategy and fortunes to build a resilient company with sustainable growth. The Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for the turnaround star goes to Tata Motors. Tata Motors has defied the odds to emerge as India's third largest car maker and is now gunning for more. I'd like to invite on stage Shailesh Chandra, the Managing Director of Tata Motors Passenger Vehicles and Tata Passenger Electric Mobility, to join us on stage to accept the award. Mr. Chandra, congratulations. And you know, we have interacted over the last many years, right? And we've seen the journey of Tata Motors, not just Tata Motors, but the Tata Group. Since Mr. Chandra has come on board, the Tata Group has just soared to new heights. What is it that you guys are doing right that's taking you to, you know, not just become a turnaround star, but to see the kind of growth overall in the group?
Yeah, I would not like to comment on the group because there are multiple, heroes in the group, but I would specifically talk about Tata Motors first and foremost. I would like to thank Forbes India and the jury for this recognition. I think the last 3-4 years for us has been a very steep growth, and that has been on account of a very strong acceptance of our products by the Indian consumers. And of course, it has been because of a strong commitment by our business partner, which is Channel Partners and the team at Tata Motors, who have really working very hard, really steering through tough times, especially semiconductor crisis and all, leading the charge on electrification. I think all of these have, in a combined way, made us turn around the company. We were at the rock bottom level 4 years back, in a situation of perfect storm where there was a question on existence itself. And I think today we can all dream to thrive at Tata Motors is what I can say. Thank you.
Congratulations once again, Tata Motors, a true turnaround star. Thank you, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, for felicitating our deserving winners. But I would request you to kindly stay back on stage, Mr. Jhunjhunwala. Please stay back on stage, as it's time to now turn the tables. I would like to invite Ashok Vaswani, the MD and CEO of Kotak Mahindra Bank, on stage for the next award. The winner of the Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Ecosystem Enabler, which is our new category this year, is a 70-year-old Padma Shri awardee who is an IIT Kanpur graduate with a PhD from America's University of Maine, known for his path-breaking research. He is considered a pioneer in nurturing industry-academia interaction in research, innovation and product development. He has accumulated accolades in areas that mirror the evolution of Indian technology, from wireless telephony and mobile banking to solar equipment and battery swapping for electric vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Padma Shri Ashok Jhunjhunwala, the winner of the 2024 FILA Award for Ecosystem Enabler.
Today's young India is so good. You inspire them, challenge them, and they can do wonders. This is something that we have found again and again. The 22-year-old, fresh out of college, you challenge them. You have to ask only two questions. Are they prepared to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week? If they are not, sorry, I don't think you can be a successful entrepreneur. Are you willing to fail? And do you know how to get up after failure? Because you will fail. And you have to get up and go further again. And you again will fail. And again you have to get up. If you have that conviction that you will get up after every failure and go on and on, there is nothing to stop you. The ecosystem exists today. It has taken 25 years, 30 years, ever since 1991, to gradually create the confidence. The technology part plays a major role, particularly but today technology is not as difficult as one imagined. It is possible for us to pick up the technology. It is possible to learn the technology. Of course, these youngsters have to do that, particularly for the deep tech companies. And all that people like us have to do is stand with them. Not make it easy for them, but guide them. Be there with them. Keep on giving them the confidence that they can do it. I can only say that I saw United States 30, 40 years back. They had this. And therefore, the entrepreneurship flourished. And you saw great companies coming out of this. This has started over the last 15 to 20 years in India. The only thing that we have to be very, very careful is that sometimes we overstate the success. We tend to just talk about numbers without there being any real basis of it. We need to avoid that. As long as we can avoid that and recognize that there will be failures, it is okay to fail, as long as you are willing to try again and succeed. I think everything is set in India for the kind of dream that Uday Kotak presented to us, what will happen to India in the next 20, 25 years. Thank you very much, Forbes, for this honor. I'm really humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You are an inspiration to all of us, and thank you. Thank you for those wonderful words. Thank you, Mr. Vaswani, for joining us as well. Well, amidst turbulent times and prevailing uncertainty in the global landscape, at a time when technology is disrupting sectors every few years and not just decades, when leadership needs to evolve to cater to the more evolved workforces, disruption is definitely the name of the game. The need for strong, resilient, and innovative leadership has never been more critical. Now, our next session aims to shed light on the role that leaders can play as a beacon in tumultuous times. How can leaders navigate through uncertainties and inspire their teams to overcome obstacles? What strategies can they employ to foster resilience and innovation in their organizations? Let's find out. To take this discussion forward, let me first welcome on stage Manu Balachandran, who's the Associate Editor at Forbes India. And joining him are our esteemed speakers for this session. We have Sunil Vachani, the Executive Chairman of Dixon Technology, Sasank Rishkant Sringa, who's the co-founder and CEO of Axio, Rishi Das, the co-founder and CEO of IndiCube. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming our esteemed speakers for this session.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome once again to Forbes India Leadership Awards 2024. When we sat down to decide on a topic for this panel discussion around leadership, there were numerous ideas, ranging from inclusivity to diversity to emotional intelligence, leadership during times of crisis, and ethical leadership, and so on. But nothing is more pertinent in today's world than leadership during times of disruption. Over the last 5 years, we've seen that with a raging pandemic, 2 successive wars, economic volatility, now supply chain disruptions, and of course, lately the advent of artificial intelligence. And who better than some of the top leaders in Indian business who are leading their companies to give us an insider view on how to sort of deal with leadership during times of distress and disruption. Sunil Vachani was busy scaling up his business even during COVID. He's the poster boy for electronics manufacturing in India today. And Dixon has had a phenomenal growth over the last few years. Rishi Das of IndiCube is an accidental entrepreneur, and his sector saw tremendous sort of struggle during COVID-19. Take, for instance, with WeWork in the US. And Shashank heads a company that operates in a segment that has seen frequent run-ins with the regulator. On that note, let me begin this panel discussion by asking all 3 gentlemen today on what you see are some of the big disruptions facing your sector in particular and India in general. So I'll start with you, Shashank, and ask the others.
Sean, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I think we operate in the financial services or fintech space. And I think one of the biggest silent disruptions of the last few years has been the growth of digital public infrastructure in India, right? Most of us today would use UPI and would have an Aadhaar card. But what many of us wouldn't realize is the degree to which these pieces of infrastructure are changing the playing field. Because effectively what you have today is a system, I call it Aadhaar, that has given digital identity to billions of people. On top of that, we now have a payment system, UPI, where people can move money without any friction. And now, in addition to this, we have a set of new innovations, which I loosely call the account aggregator ecosystem, where effectively every consumer owns their data and can take it where they go. And so what these 3 things have done is create an environment where customers can literally take their business to the provider that's able to give them the best product or service. And that's going to create a huge amount of competition, but it's also going to create an environment where customer is king. And we heard Uday talking earlier about customer experience. But, much as we'd like to pat ourselves on the back as the private sector, I think the public sector has actually changed the game by creating the best digital public infrastructure for financial services that we see anywhere in the world today. And I think we're just starting to see the effects of this.
Mr. Vachani, what are your thoughts?
So, I recall the time that we were going for our road shows at the time of IPO. And I think the first question that a lot of investors asked that, is this sector, the electronic manufacturing services sector, is it prone to a lot of disruptions? And I think my honest answer was that, the technology in our sector, in the ICT sector, has changed a lot. So if you look at, let's say, LED televisions as a category, right? We moved from a CRT television to, a plasma television, then to an LED, and now to OLED, and maybe something to follow next. So while these technologies changed, the manufacturing setup did not have to, undergo a major transformation. So I think the answer is that I think this sector of electronic manufacturing and services is not really prone to disruptions. But I think what's going to change, and I think it's very important for any leader, to process that I think the time has come to embrace digital transformation. Industry 4.0 is here to stay. And, honestly, when I visit some of the factories, our own factories, where we have adopted, strategies on digital transformation, I really wonder that, how did we manage without all these softwares and the MES in place? So I think the future is going to be about Industry 4.0. It's going to be about digital transformation. We will be looking at, a lot of companies will be looking at rolling out MES, manufacturing excellence systems across their factories. So I think that's the big fundamental change that's going to happen as far as manufacturing sector is concerned.
Rishi, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Manu. As you can imagine, the workspace sector as one of the most disrupted sectors. And when COVID happened, the first question was that, will people ever require offices? From there, I think we have moved to a place where a generation like us, we went where work was. I think now work is going where people are. So we are moving to a very different concept of distributed offices. Workspaces are a lot more fungible now. People also come to office to work. That's a shift. Then if you look at other things, like the amount of focus that the top leadership has on office spaces is unprecedented. Because today, employees don't want to come to office. Employers want them to come to office. So as a result of that, focus on benefits and all is very, very unprecedented. The whole thing has moved to an experience. What used to be the office has become our office. A lot of growth is happening in the tier 2 cities. A lot of technology to enhance the experience is getting built in. Also, the pay-as-you-use model, the amount of rigidity which real estate in general and office spaces in particular had is completely gone. And if we compare with US, cities like Seattle or SFO are running at almost 40% vacancy levels. And there is an existential crisis in these cities, whether the cities will survive. But if you look at, on the contrary, in India, most of the urban centers are booming, growing. So I think clearly India has decoupled itself from the commercial real estate in developed markets. We have our own 1.0 going for us and going fairly strong. So in a lot of ways, disruption has happened and has helped the whole sector. And India has 50 cities where population is 1 million plus. China has 600 cities with 1 million plus population. So you can imagine the amount of office spaces, the distributed office spaces that we are likely to see in years to come.
Right. Mr. Vachani, Dixon kept scaling up its business, and particularly more so over the last 3-4 years, even during, peak COVID. And of course, that was evident even in the stock market. What do you think are some of the learnings that you've had, particularly during those times of disruption, that you intend to sort of carry forward in the years to come?
So I'm often asked this question that, what has really changed in the last 20 years? Because as I mentioned that as a country and as an industry, we've really come a very, very long way. And I think the biggest change, according to me, that has happened is the change in the mindset. So 20 years back, when I remember visit, people in the bureaucracy, They used to say that you're just wasting your time. Electronic hardware manufacturing is not going to happen in the country. Our strength lies in the software. And I think that mindset has changed, both in terms of the entrepreneurs and the bureaucracy. Now the belief is that India will be the next hub for manufacturing for the world. And I think going forward, we need another mindset change, that we need to start looking at global competitiveness. So gone are the days, when you could look at setting up a factory for catering to just 5% of the domestic market. You'll have to look at large scale. You'll have to look at factories where, I'm talking from our sector, where maybe 100,000 people are employed in one plant. They're living at the campus, right? And I think second point is that the focus of entrepreneurs will have to shift to design-led manufacturing. So India, of course, we'll have to focus on Make in India. But I think we'll have to emerge as a nation which is churning out products and solutions. So I think these are the two big changes that I see coming up.
But just to follow up to that, I mean, even then, there are obviously questions raised about, whether Vietnam is really competing with India, and of course, Vietnam competing with India. Vietnam, yeah, and so many other South Asian countries. Do you really think India is at the perfect place now when it comes to manufacturing?
So, there is no doubt that when we looked at this whole China plus one strategy of, companies overseas, the real benefit right now has gone to Vietnam rather than India. But I think the next 25, 50 years belong to India, right? And I think the reasons are obvious. We have a very large domestic market. The penetration levels of some of the products that we produce are extremely low, right? I'm sure you know that hardly, let's say, 15% of the people own a product like air conditioner, washing machine, right? So it's going to be a very, very large domestic market, and that's a big advantage. Our labor costs, of course, are much lower. Our productivity is as good as compared to, let's say, any other country, right? So I definitely believe that the next 25, 50 years belong to India, and it's just a matter of time that India emerges as the next hub for manufacturing for the world.
Right. Shashank, while the fintech sector is obviously booming, and of course, I mean, there's been crazy amount of disruptions there. You've also had some sort of run-ins with the regulator. Now, how do you sort of deal with disruptions that come from a regulatory point of view? And have you faced any so far?
So, we made the choice to be regulated from day one. And in hindsight, there were times where we grew slower, but I'm grateful for that. Because unlike any other sector in tech, finance has risk and it has compliance. And the problem with this credo of, move fast and break things is when you break things in financial services, you die. And one of my learnings from the last few years is half the job in building financial services in India is not dying, right? If you survive, you have a bright future ahead of you. And I think there are two key learnings there. The first is around this idea of risk and sometimes slowing down to be able to go faster in the long run. And I think that balance with what we heard earlier about risk management and technology and being able to shift gears depending on the macro environment has been crucial. I think the second has been compliance, right? And compliance, unlike risk, is binary. You either do it or you don't, and if you don't, very quickly things will catch up with you. And I think what we found is compliance is one of those things where you either put it into the DNA of your organization early on or it becomes impossible. And the benefits with having it early on is you just tend to be a little more conservative in your thought process. And if that mindset exists, top to bottom, then when there are moments of regulatory disruption or tightening, one's organization tends to be able to weather that storm. Correspondingly, if you haven't prioritized compliance, it's very hard. It's not a switch that you can flip.
No, that's a fascinating point. So, you mentioned you'll be conservative if you do that. Now, with so much investor money floating around, would that put you in a sort of a spot if that is the case?
It's really hard. right? And so this is a business, I think, fintech, where you constantly explain to people why you're not growing as fast as they wish. And after a while, I think that's actually a skill in running this business, right? And you're always managing two different constituents, because your debt providers, and I see some of them in this room, want you to be cautious, conservative, thoughtful, slow. Your equity providers are looking for returns. The magic happens when these two expectations are kept in balance. That's a hard thing to do. But fortunately, I think in the last couple of years, the overall ethos of entrepreneurship in India is starting to come back to a healthier normal. I think ideas like, being compliant, growing profitably, slowing down when it's smart to do so, are becoming a little more mainstream and a little more accepted. And that makes it easier to navigate these cycles as a founder.
Right. Rishi, let me bring you back here. I mean, you're in a sector that saw, even during COVID-19, co-working space, nobody really knew what was the future. What did you tell your team, and how did you sort of keep going during those times? And now I know you're profitable, you're back in the green. So how did you sort of go through that particular period?
So, as I said, at the beginning, it was about staying calm. That was the first thing, because first 4, 5, 6 months, you don't know what is happening and where are you headed. The other thing, somewhere that deep belief was there that we will prevail. That was at one side. The other was being paranoid when it comes to executing as if there is no tomorrow. So it became a bit of a schizophrenic situation, and you have to very seamlessly move from one state to the other, maintain your emotional fortitude and fluency all the while. And somewhere we were able to convince our people that there is a bigger picture awaiting to come, where India will be the largest commercial real estate market. Like if you look at like Bangalore, absorbed 56 million square feet of space between 2013 and 18. Shanghai absorbed 28 million. So Bangalore is the largest absorber of commercial real estate in the world as a city. And there's only one Bangalore in the world. So as a result of that, we were very convinced, and I was able to convince our team that the 1.0 has to come out of India, and we are on that task, and let's not lose heart and just be focused. We never let the unit economics deteriorate. And last but most important, ensure that our core values, doing more with less, being fungible, flexible, all that is something, being ethical, transparent, is what we followed. And that allowed us to treat the course.
Mr. Bachani, over the last few months and last few years, there's been a lot of chatter about artificial intelligence, right? About artificial intelligence. How do you see the role of artificial intelligence when it comes to manufacturing and in the next decade?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's the part of the Industry 4.0 initiatives, right? And I think a time has come that all of us embrace this, because I think, this is going to be the factory of the future. And I think it's very important that we have factories where the machines are talking to each other. There's a lot of data, with the management. So I think that's, it's going to happen in future. And I see artificial intelligence playing a very, very big role as far as manufacturing is concerned, especially on the MES side.
Right. Shashank, what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence and particularly in fintech?
I'm tempted to say it's a bit overhyped right now. But I think it's one of those things where we'll overestimate its impact in the short run, but underestimate it in the long run. I think right now, AI is a lot about automation in things like, decisioning, customer service, collections, etc. At the end of the day, the heart of risk management is making good decisions. And I think we've now seen for a while that well-trained machines consistently make better credit decisions than people, without a lot of the biases that have crept into traditional financial services. So as an industry, I think we have been using machine learning and AI for quite some time. But I think we're still a few years away from seeing AI go from, large language models and machine learning on large quantitative data sets to actually being able to bring things like judgment, flair, the ability to make life and death decisions in a business context. I think when that tipping point happens, financial services is in for a ride.
Right. And how much of a, pace is the fintech revolution happening in India today? How quickly is the fintech revolution happening in India today?
How many of you last went to a bank branch? Right? I think financial services, which is essentially what fintech really is, has already changed. I think almost everyone today is buying a financial services product or service digitally in some shape or form. What I think is about to change more fundamentally is the degree to which financial services is wired into every aspect of our ecosystem, right? I think traditionally, FS kind of existed as a monolith, right? People went to a branch. Over time, the branch became an app. But what is now starting to happen is this idea of embedded finance, which is financial services appearing in every aspect of your life. On an e-commerce website when you're going to buy something. On a POS machine. In the middle of buying a movie ticket, right? Or in the process of managing a payroll software. Because at the end of the day, right, credit is fuel and it follows a structure of commerce. And I think what we are on the cusp of now is actually seeing financial services go away from being a standalone product or service, this idea of, I'm going to my bank, to your bank being available at every digital touch point of your economic life. And that will be revolutionary because it's only when credit grows at 2x GDP growth can we actually achieve this dream of becoming a 5 trillion plus economy over the next decade.
Right. Rishi, when we speak about disruptions today, it can also come from, from local, on a local factor, right? I mean, say for instance, it can be local factors also. Say for instance, Bangalore today is facing acute water shortage. Now, I was talking about Bangalore, and I was asking, disruption that can come, from local factors. Say, for instance, Bangalore is now facing a water crisis. Now, how do you sort of, as business leaders, how do you tackle such, local disruptions?
Sure. So I think one thing which COVID taught all of us is the focus on environment, health and safety, and sustainability is a big thrust area. So that's something we started around the COVID time. And today I can say that like most of our buildings, we have been able to bring down our water consumption by anywhere from 50 to 80% by ensuring that we are recycling all the water, doing enough water harvesting and all that. So I think that is one area. Then if you look at power, for example, almost 40 to 50% reduction in power consumption purely on account of using the right set of IoTs and all over there. Waste management is a similar area. So most of the buildings and commercial real estate definitely will see a lot of impact of the environment happening. So all buildings have to look at resilience from that perspective. And what I can say with our experience in the last 3-4 years is sustainability is not a pipe dream at all. It is very much achievable. Most of the investments that we have made in sustainability, the return period is 1 year to 2 years. We are doing a lot of work with IIM Bangalore now on renovation of older properties because as city centers are getting revived through metro coming in, most urban centers in India lack good quality real estate. You can't be demolishing and creating a India Bull Center or a UBCT kind of building. They come once in 5 years. So the challenge will be that how the old real estate, which is almost 40, 50 year old, that is renovated and brought to life. In the last 3-4 years, we have almost renovated 2.5 million square feet of real estate, whose average life was more than 30 years. And large part of these buildings are now platinum rated green buildings. So I think as part of business strategy, sustainability is not a choice. If we don't do it, what we are seeing in Bangalore, I think has happened in Chennai in the past, and we might see a Cape Town happening. But the solutions are within, with a little spend and a good amount of mind share. I think very much this can be addressed.
Right. On that note, we need to bring the session to a close, but I'll ask all three of you today, if you look at the next decade, what do you think is going to be that one big disruption that's going to sort of take place? Shashank, you first.
It's a very interesting question because I think predictions generally are wrong. But if I had to take a punt on this, I think the biggest disruption that could happen is the risk-taking ability of our capital markets. I think traditionally we have been a conservative economy, right? Uday spoke about this. That has meant a high reliance on more conservative mechanisms to raise financing, like bank debt. And that has in some ways raised the risks of entrepreneurship. What the US did very well in the last century is by creating these capital markets that can spread risks over a very large number of people, it created a culture of risk-taking and it created rewards for that. Failure was celebrated. I think we're starting to see the beginnings of that in India, but if you look at it, capital is still very concentrated. There are a handful of lenders, there are a handful of investors. Even in the public markets, you have a few investors that still move the needle, right? And I think if we're truly going to become an economy of risk takers, if we're going to become a nation of entrepreneurship, as we have always been through history, we're going to have to become a country that becomes more comfortable with risk. And the only way that's going to happen is if we create those mechanisms that can spread risk out over larger and larger and larger pools of investors. And if that disruption happens, I think the sky is the limit. And most importantly, it will, to some extent, release us from this dependence on foreign capital.
Absolutely. Rishi?
I believe the climate crisis and the jobs as we know them today, I think that is up for massive change. I see a massive job crisis. And I can say this because I'm the co-founder of another company called CareerNet, which is the largest recruitment company in India. We do 100,000 placements. So today, what you are seeing in the IT sector is not slowdown. It is all AI eating up the jobs. And very systematically it is happening. So I think that will be the biggest crisis. IT bailed us out in the last 2 decades as far as white-collar jobs were concerned. I don't know in the next 2 decades what kind of white-collar jobs we are going to add, which will bail out as a nation.
Mr. Vachani?
Yeah, I think, in our industry, we've seen that so far, electronics has been, I think, like a vertical. But I think going forward, what we'll see that electronics will touch almost every segment of your life, whether it's medical electronics, whether it's your automotive. So I think that's going to be the big disruption. And as far as, I mentioned, as far as manufacturing is concerned, the real format, the change is going to be mega factories, connected factories, and digitally transformed factories.
Fascinating times ahead. On that note, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this panel today. A big round of applause for our panelists today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that enriching discussion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue this celebration of entrepreneurship with our next set of awards. I would now like to invite on stage 2 of our jurors, Kunal Bal, the co-founder Titan Capital, and Shankar Sharma, the founder of GQuant Investec and First Global. This award category honors the brand that has consistently demonstrated resilience and perseverance, establishing itself as a dominant player in a state or region and challenging pan-India players. It is now time to recognize our regional Goliaths. And the Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Regional Goliath goes to Wagh Bakri Tea Group. A big round of applause to them. Wagh Bakri has never focused on growth at breakneck speed, yet it remains the 3rd largest packaged tea company. I'd like to now invite on stage Rashish Desai, the Vice Chairman and Managing Director, Paras Desai, the Executive Director, Vidisha Parag Desai, the Director, and Priyam Parikh, the whole-time director of Wagh Bakri Tea Group, on stage. A big round of applause for them. Congratulations to all of you. If you can just hand over the mic to them. Congratulations to the entire team. Of course, please, if you can say a few words. And also, you know, it is so hard to build a brand and keep the brand sustainable over decades, right? Something that you folks have done. Can you tell me a little about, I mean, of course, congratulations to you, and a little more about your journey.
First of all, thank you very much, Forbes and the jury. So this was possible due to mainly the three factors that that I consider, and I'm speaking on behalf of the family. So first is absolutely grace of God. Second is the smart and hard work of our team members. And obviously the family in office and at home who has been constantly endeavoring to for the cause of the customer. So that is what has made us successful so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations once again. Well, our next category, ladies and gentlemen, is a recognition of a business built on the back of a promising idea. A startup in its truest sense, the winner encompasses a promising idea which has already gathered shape and found investor backing. The financials could also be starting to improve, but it is more important that the startup is making its presence felt in the entire ecosystem. With its focus now on making financial services simple and by remaining consistent in its expansions, Grow has become the biggest stock brokerage firm in India in terms of active clients on the NSE in such a short span of time. The Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Promising Startup goes to Grow. Please welcome with a huge round of applause, Harsh Jain, the co-founder and COO of Grow. Congratulations, Harsh. So, you know, this is a space and this is a part of an ecosystem that has been growing leaps and bounds, right? The equity cult. What has led to this kind of growth for you, if you can tell us? And what do you see as the journey over the next many years?
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Forbes and the Honorable Jury. So at Grow, our purpose is to basically empower the people of India by making financial services simple, transparent, and delightful. And on the behalf of the entire team, I want to really tell that we are grateful, and this is an honorable award. So, you know what, India, as we've already spoken about it, that there's a lot of growth potential that's happening in India. And so far, for decades, the participation in the capital market and in the financial space has been more from the outside India. Now we have started seeing how the retail users, how the domestic investors have started participating in a big way, appreciating the fact that they need to play a role, significant role in the economy of the country. And soon, like Uday sir also spoke about the dreams that we can all aspire to have as a truth. And we'll surely see that with the advent of new technology and with the focus on the capital market.
So, Harsh, there is, of course, a lot of competition in this space as well that you're battling. But on the other hand, there is this young Indian, the new investors that are entering this market in a big way, right? So how are you battling competition and at the same time making sure that you penetrate the market?
Oh, that's simple. We don't look at the competition at all. See, when the market is so big and we are less than, our penetration currently is in single digit. So do you want to see at the single digit number or do you want to see the number which is like 90s, right? So it's very simple. Just focus on building customers, compound customer trust, build reliable products, and you will win at some point of time.
And where do you see grow 5 years from now?
Yeah, we are currently probably empowering few millions of people. We would want to do few hundreds of million people the same way.
Congratulations once again. Congratulations.
Thank you
A
so
big
much.
round of applause to Harsh Jain and team.
Thank you so much once again, and congratulations to the other winners also.
All right, our next category winner is the... Thank you. Our next category winner, Startup Value Creator, exemplifies a mature enterprise that has demonstrated an ability to carve out a distinct niche for itself, seen stable funding, and has established the right mix of top-line growth and a successful business model. The Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Startup Value Creator goes to Mama Earth, whose parent company Honasa Consumer has generated multi-bagger returns for its early VC investors. Please put your hands together for the power couple Varun and Ghazal Alag, the co-founders of Mama Earth. Once again, a big round of applause to Varun and Ghazal Alag. If we can hand over the mic to them, please. So guys, congratulations to both of you. We were just having a word with Karan Johar a couple of, some minutes ago. He was telling us about his journey and what he learned from failure, right? He said, the biggest lessons that you learn are not from success, but from failure. And you folks have seen a lot of challenges, especially when the IPO came through. We know the struggles that you went through. But how did you overcome all of that?
Women's Day is just around the corner, and I think in the last 2 days I've really spoken a lot. I'll let Varun answer this question right now.
So much for chivalry. Thank you. Thank you so much for the award. Before I actually answer the question, I think, growing up, I remember when people used to describe India and culture here, one of the stories that I used to hear was this story of crabs, right? Of how when one crab tries to jump out, all the other crabs try to pull them in, right? That's the story that I was raised around, right? And I think we're the story of New India, right? 7 years ago, we decided to quit our jobs and start a company, and in 7 years, took it to IPO, took it public. And I think that's the story of New India, right? Where if you dream hard and you try hard, the ecosystem actually comes together to make it happen, right? So we're all crabs which are actually ladders for each other now, right? So thank you, each one of you, right, who's inspired us and who's supported us, right, in making this happen, right? And I think, like many of the folks before us said, entrepreneurship is a journey which is sinusoidal, right? It is never a journey of ups, right? It'll always be a journey of ups and downs, right? And every time you're down, right, that's when you're getting stronger. That's when you're building, right? That's when you're really looking up at the sun and saying, man, there is so much that I can do. And I think we thoroughly look back and cherish, and every moment where we were pushed down, right? where we were told you can't do this, and because that's what made us stronger, and that's what got us here. Thank you so much.
Congratulations once again. Ghazal, just before we let you go, what is the biggest value or virtue that has led you to become the leader that you are today?
I think I never thought about becoming, or the virtue of becoming a leader. I think it was a journey that we took over the last 7 years, coming from a middle-class family. The values that we got while we were raising up is what we used to build the company. And while building the company, when you're bringing people together, when you're solving problems, when you're building products for so many consumers, there are certain skills that you start acquiring to help manage everything better. I define those as my leadership skills, and I think that has, it's ingrained in the values in which not just us but our company operates, and it's written all over the walls in our office. So when you come there, you'll be able to see it. I think that's what I'll say is leadership for us.
Congratulations once again to both of you. You've been an inspiration to young India, and hopefully you will achieve many more new heights along your journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Varun and Ghazal Alag. Well, a grassroots philanthropist is one who is actively involved with the causes they support and have gone beyond the scope of mandated CSR activity. They have pledged or are already giving away a substantial portion of their net worth towards social needs or as per the evolving crisis, and are also devoting their time and expertise to further the causes they support. The Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for Grassroots Philanthropists goes to Zarina and Ronnie Screwvala, the co-founders of Swadesh Foundation. Their efforts to lift people out of poverty are showing results in Raigad and Nasik in Maharashtra, and now they want to take the scalable Swadesh model to other regions. A big round of applause to both of them. Congratulations, Zarina and Ronnie. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to them. Can we give them the mic, please? Congratulations to both of you. And what has led to your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from on a daily basis?
Well, firstly, thank you to the jury, and thanks to Forbes. Maybe I just have 3 things to say. First, I think Zarina and I founded the foundation when we were about 20 years old. And I think it's important because it's a message I constantly talk to people. You don't need white hair and you don't need a bank balance to really give back. So I think that's a message for everyone in India. I think the second one is the sweat equity in India and what people do in terms of volunteering is quite incredible. And I think most of us measure philanthropy with money and donations and CSR. But the kind of work that's happening in the country, I think, is something spectacular and something everyone needs to be proud of. And maybe third, just anecdotally, we renamed our foundation the Swadesh Foundation after one of the movies we did a long time back called Swadesh, where Mohan, played by Shah Rukh Khan, meets his Nanima and wants to create electricity and light his bulb. And I think the punchline that his boss at the NASA center says, well, go back to India and light your bulb. And I think that's the story really of philanthropy today, because what all of us are blessed with is a lot of ambition. But what half of India is not blessed with is aspiration. And I think if we can lift aspiration in India, nothing can stop us. But thank you very much.
Of course.
So we have a saying at Swadesh, which is, I think the thing that we do best is that we allow and teach our community to dream of a better future for themselves, and we remove this awful thing which we call mental poverty. We have a gift, and we've learned over the many decades that we've worked to actually remove this mental poverty and teach people how to dream and achieve their dreams. And we call it Swa Se Bane Des.
Congratulations. Congratulations to both of you, and hope you continue to do the good work that you're doing. Thank you, Kunal and Shankar, as well, for joining us to present these awards to our winners. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to honor the winners of our very last set of awards. To recognize them, I would like to invite on stage Andrew Holland, who is the CEO of Avendus, and Angelo George, who is the CEO of Bisleri. This year, we were looking for a climate warrior whose core business revolves around solving climate and sustainability-related issues. Someone who has started showing scale, judged on the promise they hold based on the solutions they are providing. And the award for Emerging Climate Warrior goes to Eki Foods. Abhay Singh and Amit Kumar of Eki Foods are growing staple vegetables using technology that is not just climate resilient and climate saving, but also reduces growing costs. Please welcome on stage Abhay, the co-founder and CEO, and Amit, the co-founder and COO of Eki Foods, on stage. A big round of applause to them. Congratulations, Abhay and Amit. And we would like you to say a few words as well, if we can just hand over the mic to them.
Thank you, Forbes, for inviting us. Thank you, jury members, for giving us this award. I would like to mention our 300-odd team members that have helped make our vision a reality on a daily basis. And I'd like to mention that hopefully we'll keep achieving and make sure that our vision of providing high-quality produce in a sustainable way to every state of society is possible. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Congratulations. Well, the next award of this evening recognizes a Gen Next entrepreneur of a family business who has displayed dynamism to revitalize an existing business and in the process prepared the organization for a whole new vector of growth. And the Forbes India Leadership Awards 2024 for Gen Next Entrepreneur goes to Parth Jindal, the Managing Director, JSW Cement and JSW Paints. The next gen Jindal displayed nerves of steel, makes concrete plans to create brands out of commodities, and gives JSW Group a sporting makeover with a fresh lick of paint. Please put your hands together for Parth Jindal. Parth, congratulations. Is it very tough to be a new gen entrepreneur, next gen entrepreneur with fresh ideas, fresh thoughts in a traditional business?
First of all, I'd like to thank Forbes and the jury for giving me this award. I think it's not said enough, but these awards are very inspirational. And they push all of us award winners, nominees, to strive harder and to do more going forward. So it's a great thing. I know it's not easy to do every single year. It's not easy to go round up sponsors. It's not easy to put on a show like this, but it means a lot. I think I would also like to say that, yeah, it wasn't easy to come up with new ideas, but I think my parents gave me a big opportunity. They backed me, especially my mother really backed me. My father obviously wrote all the checks. But I think getting that backing at the age of 22 meant a lot and gave me the opportunity to do whatever I've done. I think the glass is only half full. There's a really long journey left. The work is only just begun. And I'm sure with India growing to a $5 trillion economy, a $10 trillion economy, and hopefully a $20 trillion economy, companies like JSW can make a much bigger mark and take India to where it truly deserves to be, and that's one of the great developed democratic nations of the world.
Congratulations once again, Parth. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, the next award recognizes a leader who has shown strategic foresight and leadership and delivered superior performances over the past 3 years, has effectively managed all key stakeholders, transformed the current organization, as well as prepared for its next phase of growth. The Forbes India Leadership Award 2024 for CEO of the Year goes to Praveer Sinha, the CEO and Managing Director of Tata Power. Please put your hands together for Praveer Sinha, someone who has charted out an aggressive renewables energy strategy for Tata Power, which aims to significantly enhance its renewables capacity by 2030 and position itself for a net zero world. Mr. Sinha, congratulations. So well deserving of this award. Sir, we have been speaking about renewable energy ever since it was just a thought, and now the government is giving it such a big push. What do you see as the future of renewable energy?
First of all, thank you, Forbes India, and thank you to the jury for this award. This award, I would like to dedicate to my 22,000 employees who work 24/7. Unlike many industries where people have the luxury of working from home, we don't have that luxury. We are in power company. COVID or before that or after that, every day of the day we go to office and ensure that we produce electricity and supply to your house. Ronnie mentioned about Swadesh. Our Swadesh started in 1915 when for the first time we generated electricity in the foothills of Western Ghat and brought to the city of Mumbai. And we are just 109 years old, very young, very entrepreneur, very innovative. And today we have rediscovered ourselves and getting ready for the Tata Power 2.0, which will be good for another 100 years, to not only bring light in the homes of people, but also bring light to the community and to the people around the places where we work. So lighting up lives is not only a motto about the physical light, but also about bringing a change in the lives of people. I feel blessed to be part of Tata Power, and once again, thank you very much to the jury and Forbes India.
Congratulations, sir, once again. Thank you so much. And all the best for the future. And thank you to Andrew and as well as Angelo for presenting these awards. As we near the end of this captivating evening, we have one more exciting conversation in store for you. We're about to delve into a topic that resonates deeply with audiences worldwide, the art and craft of acting. By enthralling audiences with their performances, actors play a pivotal role in shaping the storytelling molds. To take this session forward, I invite Kunal Purandare, the editor desk, to the stage. And tonight, thank you, Kunal. And tonight, we're privileged to have with us a versatile and accomplished actor from the Indian film industry, known for being Aditya in Jab We Met, embodying Shakespeare's tragic prince in Vishal Bhardwaj's Heather, and many more. With his charm and dedication to his craft, he has left an indelible mark on the hearts of audiences. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Shahid Kapoor.
Shahid Kapoor is synonymous with spectacular performances, whether it's his debut Ishq Vishk in 2003 or the much talked about Kabir Singh in the recent past. Now that he's enjoying the success of Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Ulja Jia, his third successive hit across platforms, I think it's the right time to get his insights on the making of a star, the evolution of a star. Welcome to the Forbes India Leadership Awards, Shahid.
Thank you so much. Wishing everybody a very, very wonderful evening. I do feel like I hope I can keep everybody interested. There are so many achievers out here. I would have preferred to listen to most of them. I'll try my best to speak in an interesting manner, but it's wonderful to be here, and thank you for having me, mate.
Shahid, it's been over 2 decades in the film industry for you, but the journey began long way before that, as a background dancer, featuring in music videos, doing ads. What all has it demanded from you to reach this place of becoming this much-loved star and an actor who's known for his layered performances?
Well, it's been 20 years I've been doing this, man. So I think it's a journey of self-discovery. I think you have to believe in yourself when nobody believes in you, especially when you want to be an actor, and especially when you're kind of trying to do it on your own. You don't belong as such. My father was an actor, but, I didn't really tell anybody I was his son. So it was a bit of a intimidating journey. You feel like an outsider. I always felt like the outsider trying to be accepted. But it's the love of the audience, and it's the love of your craft that pushes you to do your best and keeps you inspired. Of course, they say that everybody should have a dream, but this industry teaches you that dreams are not enough. You should have a plan along with your dream, and that plan can only be true to you. Each artist is different. Their positives are different. Their negatives are different. Their strengths are different. The opportunities they are given are different. The way people perceive them is different. The way they feel about themselves at different points in time changes. And on top of that, the audience's mood changes, and the ecosystem which are a part of changes. So it's very difficult to define it, but I've always believed in myself, and I've always believed in improving, and I've always believed in growth, and I've always believed in rediscovery and trying to surprise the audience. And I think all that got me here, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, what would you say is your strongest trait as an artist? You've been an alchemist, you've gotten better over the years, and there's a sense of surety or assurance in your performances now.
Well, you have to, I think, blank out the noise. There's always a lot of noise. I think we live in a time where there are so many opinions. An actor's success and failure is very, very public. Everybody has a point of view on it. People who are close to you, people who you have never met. So I think what's most important is to kind of have a relationship with your own inner voice. And I think I have always backed my instincts. And I have always believed in growth and change. I think when you get successful, the first thought is always to follow the pattern of success and do the same thing over and over again. Maybe in certain professions that works really well, but I think if you're an actor, you need to learn to rediscover yourself. So for me, it's always about trying to do something different and new. I feel if I can surprise myself as an actor, I'll be able to surprise the audience. You have to always, keep them interested. And people's patience levels are very short now. Their attention spans are very short. So you have to keep them interested.
Does this confidence come from experience or the realization that you have nothing to lose now, having seen the best and the worst of the industry?
I think I had nothing to lose 20 years back, man. I think now there is a lot to lose because I think I worked for 20 years and gotten somewhere. At that time, I was just a kid trying to do what I love. What was your question about confidence? Where do I get the confidence from? I mean, you don't really. You go through various phases. I don't know if I can say that I'm a supremely confident person. I can definitely say that I have a lot of, I think I have a lot of willpower, and I think I have a lot of faith, and I think I have a lot of love for what I do. So I think more than just inner confidence within yourself, I think I really love what I'm doing, and so I keep chasing to get better at it. And yeah, I think confidence is something that's, I don't know. I think you should believe in yourself, and you should also have a very realistic sense of who you are and where you are. I think random confidence is not going to take you very far.
Your parents are actors, but you recently opened up about feeling like an outsider in the industry. Why, and how did you deal with that phase?
I mean, see, it's very difficult to get into that entire kahani of my life and all that. I came from Delhi when I was 9. My mother worked for some time. Then I had my younger brother Ishan, and she had to take a break after that. And it was very difficult for her to find work after that, because this is that kind of profession, you know, out of sight is out of mind, and then it's difficult to make a comeback. You know, also that was a slightly different time. So I saw her really miss out on what she loved doing, because she brought up my younger brother, and obviously she was a huge part of my upbringing and my work, and I could see all her dreams in her eyes, and for me it was kind of like I wanted to fulfill her dreams. My parents were not together, so when I came to Bombay, I stayed with my mother, and I never really told anybody who my father was. And I didn't feel the need for it, because I felt like, you know, if they want to give me work, they should give it to me for the fact that they like what I'm doing in front of the camera, and not because I'm related to somebody. And I think I'm very proud of that. You know, I think that's what's made me the man that I am, and I think that's what made me be the actor that I am. You know, name can only take you so far. After that, you have to be able to do what you're doing. People, I think, respect you for what they see you do, not just what your surname is or where you come from. I think maybe that gives you a head start. But I think people who make it on their own merit are, you know, I think they can kind of get through any storm that comes their way. And you know, so I really enjoyed the fact that I kind of tried to prove it through my work.
You're a shy, reticent person who likes to keep himself with his close circle of people. But today it's all about promoting yourself, whether it's social media, the paparazzi, PR. How much of an actor today is real, and how much of it is an image created by his or her team?
See, even what you're saying can be an image. Am I shy? Am I not shy? I am me, man. This is who I am. And I have learned to be as open as I can be, but I also feel that putting yourself out there too much also, I think, is not a good thing. You have to protect who you are as a human being, on one hand, but at the same time, you have to be professional, and you have to be out there so that, you know, people can see you, people understand you, people like you, people love you. But I just feel that it should come from a real place. I think whoever you are should be seen by people. And if you try and fake it, I think in today's time, bada mushkil hai. Because aap kidhar bhi jate ho, you go to a coffee shop also, there are people clicking your pictures, you go anywhere. So there was a time, I think, when stars could create this aura or image about themselves. I think now it's just about being real. And what we do for the big screen, I think, is what defines us as an artist. And I think your personality doesn't necessarily have to be directly connected or exactly the same as how people view you. I think they see that as two different things now. And so I think being natural is the best way to be.
Yeah, I'd like to say you let your work do the talking. But you had this chocolate boy image right from the beginning. And you tried to break that with certain films, Kamine, Udta Punjab, Haider, Kabir Singh recently. So what is easier, playing this romantic hero who's probably closer to what you are as a person, or someone like a Kabir Singh where you have to unleash a completely new personality, knowing fully well that it may backfire?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that the romantic hero is more like me and Kabir is not like me. I think there's a little crazy inside me somewhere, so that Kabir is existing somewhere deep down. I think those crazy streaks are there in me as an actor. I always chase complex characters. I always chase finding characters which I also don't understand how they are and why they think like that, and I like to delve into that. For me, it has nothing to do with who I am. It has to do with what I can portray and who I can be. And so I'm never really looking to do something that's like me. You know, I think that would be very like, I don't know, narcissistic or something like that, that let me just show myself to the world. No, I think the idea is to be a part of stories, to play different characters who represent different aspects of human behavior, of society, people who are from different backgrounds, people whose brain works differently, whose heart works differently, people who speak differently, people who look different, people who walk different. To me, that's what acting has always been about. And so I will always chase that. You know, I'm not very interested in who I am and putting that out in front of the camera. I'm much more interested in what the director or the script writer is bringing to me and how I can mold myself to become that. For me, that is way more exciting.
You're one of the few actors to have found immense success on OTT. Farzi did really well. There was Bloody Daddy. How has OTT benefited you? And would you now choose projects to balance the two, maybe films that will be released in theaters and projects that will come on streaming platforms?
Well, Farzi was completely mind-blowing. I mean, it blew all our minds with the kind of love that it got. It kept me employed during the first and the second round of COVID. So I could go to work. So that was great. Of course, OTT is something that has been growing. It will continue growing. We'll have to see where it goes over the next 5 years. I think the entire fraternity is going through this churn right now. We're all trying to figure, what's going to work on the big screen, what's going to land on OTT. Should you be doing movies? Should movie actors not do OTT? People who do OTT, can they be loved on the big screen? I mean, that's really something that we will all discover over the next 4 to 5 years, because we're in that phase right now. But I just want to be a part of great stories. I want to give people a great experience, and I want to be consumed as much as I can be. And I don't try and think beyond that. I try to keep it simple. If I love something as a viewer, why would I not want to be a part of it? So I honestly really loved Raj and DK's work in Family Man 1 and 2. And when they came to me with this, I was like, I love these directors. I think they've cracked this format, which is the long form, which is 8-9 episodes, as opposed to 2.5 hours, first half, second half. That's a different format, right? And so I just did it, and it really worked for me, right? So I guess you should just do things that you really love, and people feel that. I think the audience can feel that.
So who's a real star today? Someone who brings in money at the box office, or someone who gives people value for their time and money?
How is it different?
I mean, people are not going to the theaters as much, right? They're thinking about it now.
So I don't understand your question.
I mean, is it the box office pull of a star more important?
Then what?
Then maybe acting in a streaming series or a project.
But there also it's about views. You know what I'm saying? Like eventually success is defined by how many people have seen you.
Yeah.
And how many of those people have liked what you've done.
Right.
At the box office, it's kind of like if everybody goes to watch a movie, the numbers become definitive. But I think over the long term, it is the sustainability of the love that you have achieved for the work that you have done that always stays. Like even today you're saying, oh, Aditya Kashyap from Jab We Met. I mean, I did that film 17, 18 years back. Yeah. Why are you not mentioning any of the other films? There might have been some others which actually made more money than Jab We Met. But you still talk about Jab We Met because it stays with you. So I think as much as box office success matters, as much as numbers matter, I think making your place in the subconscious and the conscious mind of the audience at various stages in their life is actually what gives you longevity. Because as I am growing as an actor, those people who are watching me are also evolving and growing. They're at different stages in their life. And the memories that you etch in people's minds when it's their wedding, they are dancing to your song, or, maybe they went for their first date and they actually watch your movie. And those memories that stay with them actually make a very deep impression. And I think today we live in a time where we are watching so much content that we don't really remember things for very long. It's like there's just too much information. So things that hit deep and stay with people as strong memories, actually I think are the cornerstone of any star, superstar, great actor's career.
We had Karan Johar earlier here, and he spoke about the resurgence of cinema theaters. But there is talk among people about corporate bookings, especially since the pandemic when films weren't doing well. And some members of the fraternity even admit to fudging
controversial
ratings.
wala question पूछ रहे हैं, हाँ.
And some members of the fraternity even admit to fudging ratings. Your views on that?
I don't know. I mean, see, in every profession, stuff like that goes on. I don't think this is the only profession where things like this happen. I have never endorsed it. I don't really believe in it. I have never really blindly chased success. I think while you choose to become who you want to become and success comes to you is a better way than I'll do whatever the hell it takes to be successful. Because deep down, I mean, if you're buying success and if you're buying numbers, are you really confident of yourself? Because you know you're faking it. How long can you continue believing in yourself when you know that whatever you're projecting is a lie? So I'd much rather that whatever I project is based on reality. So, I mean, I don't believe in that. I don't think it's something that can stay forever. Like you said, people are already seeing through it. And everybody has an opinion. If something's not landing, people will say it. You can't hide it forever.
But you had 3 back-to-back successes, including Teri Baaton Mein recently. What does it take to deliver that kind of hits now in today's time?
I'm not that consistent. I've just got 3 right in the recent past. I think there are people like Ronnie sitting right in front of me who would probably be able to give you answers on consistency. I think I'm just about learning to get consistent, and hopefully I won't go wrong now. But it's very difficult to answer that question. I think consistency comes from flow for an actor. When you're flowing with your instinct and all that you have done and the experience that you've gained is supporting you to be able to, whatever choices you make, you have to make them land, So your experience helps you with that, because once you make the choice, it's not like it just becomes right immediately. There are many challenges that come with every choice, and you have to make it right. So I think take a decision and then put all your energies in making it the right decision. As opposed to wasting a lot of time making that decision. मैं ऐसे करूं कि वैसे करूं. Take the decision and then make it right.
What next for you as an actor? You've done such few films over the past 20 years. I know there is Deva coming up, and there might be a season 2 of Farzi. Are you looking at doing more work without compromising on quality?
Well, yeah, Deva's next. That's what this carpet haircut is all about. I'm playing a hectic, hard, intense cop right after having done a love story. So continuing in the same vein of not wanting to repeat myself in jumping genres is just something that I like to do, and so I guess I'll continue doing it. Whether there will be a season 2 of Farzi is a great question. I really don't have the answer. Raj and DK have to write it. But going by the fact that it did what it did, I'm quite sure that they would write the second season, and whenever they do, I'm quite sure I would be doing it. There's multiple other films that will get announced over the next few months. The producers like to take the prerogative on that, and I wouldn't like to, jump the gun. But right now, this is what I'm shooting for, and yeah.
My last question, you come across as very wise and mature. What would be your advice to people with starry aspirations?
People with starry aspirations. There are so many people who have starry aspirations. I don't know what starry aspirations means only. Like,
someone wants
that you want to be successful and popular.
Limelight, yeah.
If you're focusing on that, you'll never get there. You should focus on what you're actually going to do to get successful and popular, if that's what you're looking for. So learn to do your job, learn to do it really well, and keep working at it every day, keep getting better every day, don't ever give up, and just focus on that, I'll tell you this little thing. There was this time I was very excited because I was doing action movies, so I wanted to learn how to shoot with a real gun, So I tried to find who I could find to do that, and finally I found this gentleman who had represented India in the Olympics, and I was like, okay, he's going to pull out this big gun, and I'm going to learn how to shoot it at the shooting range. And he pulled out this little air pistol, okay? And he said, this is what we're going to start with. And I was like, that's not very exciting. Why don't we get the real thing first? He said, no, I need to teach you some basics. So anyways, we got to the shooting range and the target was in front of me. And I was like super confident that I'm going to get it right. And I fired a few times and I never got it right. And he walked up to me and he said, what are you looking at? What are you focusing on? And I was like, I'm focusing on the target, right? And he said, no. I want you to focus on your breathing, and I want you to focus on how you're holding the gun, and I want you to shoot as smoothly as you can. Because with the air pistol, even a minimal amount of movement can, make it go completely wrong. I said, but listen, if I'm going to keep thinking about how I'm breathing and looking at this gun, I'm never going to hit the target. He said, just try it, And so I tried it, and the first time I shot, I hit bullseye immediately. And he said, Shahid, focus on the process, and the result is a natural eventuality. It has to happen. But if you're focusing on the result, who's going to focus on the process? And that just always stayed with me, and it's something that will always define my approach towards work, is focus on the process, and the result is a natural outcome of that process.
Shahid, thank you very much. You've mesmerized us with your dancing and your performances over the years. We wish you all the best. Thanks a lot once again for your insights and for your time. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. There are no monitors here, so I had no idea how that sounded. But thank you so much for having me, guys, and it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Check. Yeah. If you can just stay back on stage for a bit. Thank you for that wonderful conversation, by the way. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Shahid. I would now like to invite Ghazal Alag, the co-founder of Mama Earth, back on stage. And this time, Ghazal Alag will be presenting the award to Shahid with the Icon of Excellence Award for his incredible contribution to Indian cinema. A big round of applause. A big round of applause to Shahid Kapoor. Congratulations once again, Shahid.
So basically, when they call you here for a chat, you don't get the mic on a tray. The only time you get the mic on a tray is when you win an award. No, thank you so much for this, guys. This was awesome. And, you know, excellence is something you can still try and get your hands on, you know, because you earn it. Success comes and goes. You can't really get your hands on it. So an award for excellence always feels very special. Thank you for thinking that I am worthy of this award. So thank you, Forbes. Thank you to the jury. And yeah, it was a wonderful night. Thank you, guys.
You know, in your interaction with him, you were talking about how 20 years back when you started off, it was all fun and games. Now the stakes are much higher. So when the stakes are high, does decision-making become that much more difficult?
You know, it's weird. It's strange like that. It's so interesting because I've been doing this for 20 years. I hope to do it for another 20. That's what my aspiration is. So you feel like you've given so much to something. How can you let it go? How can you give up? How can you stop, you know? So the chase just becomes bigger. I think your conviction becomes stronger because, you know, you've laid those bricks, and that the years that you spend is the groundwork that you've done to build the base, and the more solid that base is, technically the bigger the building can be. So if you've been there for 20 years, you've built a strong base for yourself, and then you should just go and build the biggest building that you can without any fear. So I think I'm somewhere there in my career right now.
But at some point, money stops becoming a motivation, right? So what
Money? No, it's always a motivation. I don't think anybody in this room here would truly say money is not a motivation. The widest smirk is on Ronnie's face right there. Mr. Moneybags right there.
But how much is too much?
How much is... Listen,
okay, wait, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. How much is enough?
No, one second. There are people out here talking about having 22,000 employees. And I was sitting there saying, so who am I supposed to thank? I don't have any... I am my own employee. You know, so, I mean, I'm not the right person to ask that question. There are too many people in this room who have way more money, way more resources, and who are far more successful. I'm just happy to be a part of this room.
Congratulations once again, Shahid. You're an inspiration to all of us, and I hope you continue to do great work.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
And thank you, Ghazal, as well, for giving away the award. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we draw the curtains on the 13th edition of the Forbes India Leadership Awards. It has been a truly memorable evening filled with engaging conversations, a heartfelt celebration of entrepreneurship, of leadership. A huge congratulations to all the deserving winners tonight. I extend my sincere gratitude to our invaluable partners, Associate Partner Acco and Reliance, Brew Partner Philips, and Workspace Partner IndyCube for their unwavering support and contribution to the success of this event. To each and every one of you, our esteemed guests, thank you for being such an incredible audience and for your enthusiastic participation throughout the evening. As we move forward, let's carry the inspiration and insights gained tonight into our endeavors. Here's to continued success and innovation in leadership. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. The bar is now open.